We're live.
Oh, okay.
Live podcast with Soul.
This is live? Like it's going out right now?
No. It's not
Okay.
live. It's just me and you. I'm recording.
Okay.
Matt Cox, Inside True Crime. Tampa represent. Now you got your coffee?
I got right here.
So look, man. I saw your Instagram popped up. One of your Instagrams popped up on my feed yesterday. You used to go pretend you were doing surveys and get the information from homeless people.
I don't even know which one this was. Listen,
They're like 50. How many? Like 15 million views on your Instagram or something like that.
On that one?
Yeah.
Probably. We got some that have 20, 26, 22. You know, but I don't know what that one was. Last time I checked, that one was probably 6 or 7 million.
Okay. So you used to do that?
Yeah, but that thing's taken out of context. They took
Put it into context. So when you want to talk to the people, just look right there.
Okay, so what happened was, we'll do an interview with someone, and so we do the interview, and then we'll start talking about something, and the editors cut up the short, so the short will sometimes seem like something that it's not. I'm not saying I didn't interview homeless people. I did do that, but what that short did was they took part of me saying, hey, I used to interview homeless people. I would get their information and then I would build up their credit, or sometimes not build their credit, just go rent a house in their name. And then I would borrow a mortgage on the house, put the money in the bank and take off. And you
really used to do that?
Yeah, that's why I was. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why
I cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's not the only thing. That's something I did when I was on the run. I was on the run for 3 years. Prior to that, I was just making synthetic identities. So I was creating fake people. But when I was on the run, that doesn't really work anymore, right? Like, I can't get pulled over using a fake ID. I need a real ID. So I started surveying homeless people so I could get their information, go into the DMV and get a real driver's license in their name so I could drive a vehicle.
Yo, Matt, creating fake people, man? Synthetic people.
Yeah, what I would do is I would go into Social Security and I would say that I had like a 10-month-old son or daughter. And I'd say, hey, and I'd make a fake birth certificate and a fake shot record. So I would go online and get the form for a shot record.
The immunizations?
Yes.
Okay.
And you just fill it out, because they're handwritten anyway. So you fill it out, and they had an example on the county website showing what a real one looked like. I could actually saw it filled out and everything. So I just copied that so that it correlated with the date of birth of the kid. That I'm saying I have a 10-month-old son. I didn't have a 10-month-old son. So I would walk into Social Security, I'd fill out what's called an SS5 form, and I'd give it to them, and they'd say, what are you doing? I said, I need a Social Security number issued to my 10-month-old son. And they would say, oh, well, was he born in a hospital? And I'd go, no, he was born with a midwife at our house. And they go, well, where is he? And I'd say, oh, he's with his mother. I was told I could come down here and get a Social Security number issued. And they go, yeah, do you have his shot record and his birth certificate? I go, I happen to have his shot record and his birth certificate. And they look at it and then they check the system and they go, oh, wow, you're right. He doesn't have one issued. Let me issue a Social Security number. So they would issue me the Social Security number, and I take that Social Security number and I'd go online, and instead of saying the kid was 10 months old, I just change the year he was born and say he was like 33 years old. So let's say it was July 7th. At that time, it would have been like 1970 or something, let's just say. So, and then I'd apply for credit cards. He would get denied, of course, but that would create a credit profile with inquiries. Then I would get him 3 secured credit cards with, using security. You put up $300, $500.
Right.
In 6 months, he's got perfect credit. So that's what I was doing. I would create these identities that had perfect credit. Then I could turn around and I could go buy a house in those identities' names, and I could refinance the house and pull out all the equity. And usually I do that multiple times. Get whatever. It might be, a lot of times I buy multiple houses, and it might be $500,000-$600,000 you'd pull out in cash, make a few payments, because you got to make some payments so it doesn't look like fraud, and then let the houses go into foreclosure and I take off with the money. Eventually that catches up to me and I went on the run.
You went to federal prison? This isn't scripted, right? You don't know what I'm going to ask you. I didn't send you no questions. You didn't say, Sean, you can't ask this, you can't ask that. This is totally unrehearsed.
No. No.
How much time you did in federal prison?
Almost 13 years. Just shy of 13 years.
What you got busted for?
Bank fraud, conspiracy to commit bank fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy to launder money, aggravated identity theft, mail fraud, like the whole gambit of frauds, what is the other one? Financial institution fraud. It was basically all bank fraud related things. But the big problem was the dollar amount, which was high because it was mortgage fraud. Because there was mortgages. I was taking out mortgages.
What was your base offense level on the money tip?
On the money,
what did the government lose?
16 million is what they said. No, I'm sorry. I got them down. On my PSI it says 9.5 million, but I argued it and I got it down to 6 million.
But what really was it? You think it was more than that?
It was probably 9.5. It might have been around there.
Okay.
I don't feel like I saw 9.5. The problem is that all of my co-defendants got money too, and then they just blamed me for that. Back then, everybody was equally. So there's 10 people and it's $9 million. You all owe $9 million. Like now they don't really do that. Now you have a second hearing where they say, look, we can account 2 million to you and 1 million to him and 500,000 to him and everybody else got 500,000. You go, okay, that's not how they used to do it. So I got hit with the bulk. And they said that the mortgage company, I ran a mortgage company, they said it did 40 million in fraud. But
you owned the mortgage company?
I owned a mortgage company.
And you was doing this fraud through the mortgage company?
No. Yes, that fraud I was doing. Yes, that initially I owned a mortgage company, we were committing fraud. Then I got caught once and I was placed on probation. I started doing the synthetic identities. Did that for about 2 years.
Who busted you?
The first time was the FBI.
For real?
Second time
they prosecuted you?
Yeah, but it was minor. I mean, the first time I only got probation. I got 3 years probation.
What was the base offense level loss on that one?
Low because there was no dollar amount. There was no. All they had me for was
paperwork.
Yeah, well, wire fraud. It was just paperwork. And at first they tried to say there was like 500,000 in loss, but there wasn't. And once I convinced them of that, what can they do? I'd never been in trouble before, so I ended up getting 3 years probation.
Where'd you catch that case out of?
Tampa.
All right. So you don't stop right there. You get right back to it.
Yeah. I immediately started committing fraud again. I started making synthetic identities. I started buying houses in an area of Tampa called Ybor City. I would buy the houses for 40 or 50,000 because they were shitholes. And then I would record the sale at like 200,000. So if you do that enough times in an area, it drives the prices in the area up. So now my guys that are buying 5 and 6 houses a piece, because these are fake people, they're buying 5 or 6 houses. I'm recording the values of the purchases much higher. So let's say you've got 400,000 into let's say you got 300,000 or 400,000 into buying these houses. Well, when you get an appraisal, it says that they're worth, I've got over $1 million in real estate, right? I'm buying a house for 50, recording the sale at 200. So when I get an appraisal, the appraiser comes in and says, you bought the house for 200 and that house across the street sold for 205. That one sold for 210.
That's your comparative market analysis. That's
exactly.
Your CMA.
So they're saying, you're right, it's worth 200,000, even though I really bought it for 50.
Right.
So now I go to the bank, I say, hey, can I borrow some money against this house? And they look at the appraisal.
Pull the money out.
Yeah, and they go, yeah, we won't lend you 200,000. We're only going to lend you 180 or 190. What do I care? I bought it for 50. You're like, oh wow, okay, I guess so. And so I would make, I don't know, 90 or 100,000. Well, I did that so many times it ended up being. They said I had borrowed $11.5 million. I took off on the run because the FBI showed up after 2 years. They showed up and they were going to arrest me. That's when I started interviewing the homeless people.
So you dipped out of Tampa? You left?
I left.
Where'd you go?
I went to Atlanta, and I went to Alpharetta, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta.
On the north side of Atlanta.
Right.
I used to caddy up there at the golf club of Georgia. So you're on the run. You running around in Atlanta, and the feds in Tampa's looking for you.
Yeah.
What you doing in Atlanta?
I rent a house from a guy named Michael Shanahan, and so I create a synthetic identity in the name Michael Shanahan. Okay. So I'm living in his house as Michael Shanahan. I then go down to public records and I can see that he had 2 mortgages, maybe 3. I think I did a first and a second mortgage. Might have had another lien on there, I forget. And I print those out and I create what's called a satisfaction of lien, which is a 1-page document, has to be notarized and signed by somebody at the bank. So I make up some names, I sign the documents, I get a fake notary, notarize the document, go back downtown and I record those documents. So the documents, the mortgages that are on his house basically now show up as being, yes, you took out a mortgage 2 years ago or 5 years ago, but it's been satisfied, which means you paid it off. So if you're a title company and you look at the title of the house now, it looks like he owes no money at all. I'm now living in the house as Michael Shanahan, and if you pull the credit to the house, it says I have no mortgages. If you look on my credit, it says I have no mortgages because I'm not using a social security number.
You pull the title is clean.
Right. And I don't owe, you can see I don't owe anything. Now he's still making the payments, right? Bank of America, whoever he had the mortgages with, they're still getting payments from him. I'm still paying the rent. But then I call up 3 hard money lenders. Hard money lender is just a guy that has a lot of money that lends money based on the equity.
At a higher interest rate.
Yes. And so
more upfront fees, origination fees, and all that.
Exactly. So these 3 guys show up. One shows up, let's say at 10 o'clock in the morning. One shows up at 2. One shows up at 5. And they all look at the house and they'll go, yeah, it's worth about $200,000. I'll lend you $150,000. And I say, oh, well, okay. They charge me a couple points, $2,000, $3,000 up front. Plus there's other fees. But in the end, I close on all those loans simultaneously within a day or 2 of each other.
All 3 of them?
All 3 of them, with different title companies, different homeowners insurance companies. There's many ways you can get fucked up, right? So different homeowners insurance companies too. Like I can't all go to the same homeowners insurance agent because he's going to be like, I don't understand this guy. We got 3 different people here.
Right.
So I got a policy with like State Farm, a policy with Allstate, a policy with whoever. So I'm also closing at 3 different title companies. None of these people can know about each other. And then I close, and each one of these closings I get, let's say, let's say, 100,000, 120,000 from this guy, 130 from this one, it ends up being about $400,000. So I borrow about $400,000 because there's a bunch of fees involved. And I take those, I deposit those checks into bank accounts, and I pull the cash out, and then I take off. And then that's when the Secret Service gets involved. Secret Service shows up, they start looking for me. But at this point, I'm surveying homeless people. I have multiple vehicles, apartments, whatever, in different homeless people's names. So if you pull me over and I'm driving, let's say a brand new Infiniti, and they pull me over and I'm going 80 miles an hour and they pull me over and they say, hey, listen, license, I have everything. Like I have the license. I have full coverage on the car. I have everything.
And the picture on your license is your picture. I
went in the DMV and got it. So I've got a driver's license in the name of some homeless guy who lives under a bridge in Iowa, and I'm got an ID in his name in South Carolina, so I can give it to the cop. He looks at it, he goes, okay. And I've got tickets after tickets. I got so many tickets as one guy, I ended up having to go to traffic court as him, because I was going to lose his license, and I have like 2 vehicles and a condo in his name. Like I can't lose his fucking license. So yeah, that's what I do. So that short you were talking about, me and this guy are talking, and I'm telling him, he's like, well, what would you do if it was a scam? If you were running a scam? I said, I would probably go grab a homeless guy's identity, do the same thing what I just explained. I said, but the difference is, because these homeless guys have phone numbers now, I'd get his phone number. I'd tell him I work for the Salvation Army or something. So when I survey him, I'd give him some gift certificates to McDonald's or whatever.
Get him some meat.
Of course. Give him a little bit of money for doing the survey. Then go get a driver's license in his name. 1 state over. You call him every once in a while. Hey man, how's it going? Do you need anything? What's up? Okay, yeah. While I'm fixing his credit, then I'd probably go buy a house in his name, borrow 4 or 5 mortgages in the house. Then I would probably go to him, and then after I got all the money out, I'd probably go to him, give him a little bit of money, and say, hey, by the way, you keep the box on the phone, wipe the phone down real good, repackage, and say, hey, by the way, man, I got you the new iPhone 15. I'd wipe everything from it and give it to him. Then he'd go, wow, that's great. He'd start using the phone. So then when the FBI comes in and investigates, eventually they're going to track it back to him. He's going to say, I don't know what you're talking. I know, it's horrible.
Yo, man,
It's horrible.
Man,
I know
yo,
it's horrible.
Man, yo, you crazy.
But think about what happened. That guy.
You was thinking all this shit up, man.
But I thought about that. I'm just talking to this guy that I was interviewing when he said, "What would you?" Well, we were talking about scams. He was, "What would you do?" I go, "This is what I would do." And here's the reason.
So when the feds come, they're going to him. He's saying, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Right. But if you look at the phone log, they're like, "Okay, even if there is somebody else, you've been calling that guy. That guy's been calling you. Like you have the phone. He's calling you. You have another cell phone. Well, I used to have another number. Right. You're calling that number. So you obviously know who this. I have no idea who this is. I don't know him. I don't." And he would probably do that for 6 months to a year. And then eventually, of course, he's also got some money on him. I'd probably give him like the laptop and some other things. He might sell them before they get to him, but he's going to have some documents on him. I mean, you might even say, "Hey man, can you hold this for me?" and give him a bunch of copies of documents so he's got them in his possession. He wants to stay in touch with you. You've been giving him money, that sort of thing. So I think the feds would show up, and I'd say within a year or two, they might realize, might be 2 years before they realize he has nothing to do with this. He was kind of duped. They might not. I mean, he might get charged and have to go do some time. I don't know. But here's what I do know is that it muddies the water so much, I don't know that they can prosecute me if they get a hold of me. They can't get a hold of me anyway. But it's going to be a problem when this is the guy we've got. What do they really do? It's a tough situation. It would muddy the water so much, I feel like I'd skate. Or maybe they grab him and he goes to jail for the whole thing and say, "I don't know what you're talking about. He had all the information, man. What are you talking about? You didn't get me with all of it." But he says you did. You were involved. I was who? What? I don't even know this guy. He's a homeless guy.
Man, you crazy, man.
Well, so that's what that clip was. He took.
Damn.
They made it sound like I did that, but I never did that. But that's what they made it sound like.
Yeah.
I was just saying, "Hey, this is what I would do. This would be a great one. Be even better. What if you were interviewing the guy and you find out he said, yeah, about 10 years ago I got arrested for fraud. Any type of fraud." If he said that, I'd be like, "Yo, bro, we need to keep in touch, man. I want to help you out. Let me give you a couple $100. You okay? Let me get your phone number." Yeah. Well, because think about it. If he's got a fraud charge, he's done. He's the mastermind. I don't even know what you're talking about. He obviously knows what he's doing. He's a career criminal.
Yo, man. Look, so you in Atlanta, you.
Could you imagine if you brought him back to wherever you were living? If you said, "Look, I'm going to get you a place to live," and you moved him in when you took off with the money, and they caught him in the house. He's like, "Yeah, what's going on?" This is going to be a dope video, man. Y'all make sure y'all share this. And I know that's horrible, by the way. I feel horrible about that. It's bad. It's all wrong.
No, you don't.
I don't feel bad, but I know I should feel bad. I know I should feel bad. And knowing you should feel bad is almost like it's as close as I can get to feeling bad.
So Matt, they bust you in Atlanta or no?
Oh no, I took off. I took off on the run. I went to Charlotte, North Carolina. I rented a place there downtown, and then I went.
How much money you had on you? You had cash on you?
Maybe $300,000-$400,000. Yeah.
Cash?
Yeah, I was with this chick. We were also spending money. Like we're going on vacations. We're going to Jamaica. We're going to Bermuda. We're going to Mexico. Like we're going all over it. We're just goofing off. You don't have a job, so
right.
You just your job becomes, hey, we're going to set up for the next scam, and then we're just going to do things that cost money. You're just going to blow money.
So you go to Charlotte. You rent a place.
Yeah, and then we set up for the next scam. I went and I interviewed some homeless guys, and all over the place. But this one particular scam, we went to Vegas for like a week, and I interviewed a couple homeless guys. The guy's name was Gary Sullivan, and so I go he has an ID in Vegas. So I drive to South Carolina, and I get an ID, not a driver's license, just an ID of Gary Sullivan. He owed like $20,000 in medical bills. So I paid off all the medical bills, tried to negotiate a little bit, paid those off, got a couple secured credit cards. And then I got a real estate agent. I had him drive me around and find a couple of houses for people that would owner finance their houses. And I'll put down 10%. So I'm going to buy your house for $250,000. I'll give you $25,000 down. You owner finance it to me. And then as soon as you owner finance it, and this was in Columbia, South Carolina. As soon as you owner finance it, I drove to public records and I satisfy your loan. I create a satisfaction mortgage from you, the owner, the old owner. I'm now the new owner. You're now a mortgage holder. I then create a satisfaction of mortgage. I notarize it, and then so now it's gone. I now am living in a house worth roughly $250,000.
With no mortgage on the title.
No mortgage, and it's in my name as Gary Sullivan.
But the dude that you sell it financed with still thinks he owns it and is continuing to pay his mortgage if he has one.
If he has one, yeah, because it was a wraparound mortgage. He had a mortgage, but he's owner financing. It's called a wraparound. So he's got a mortgage from Federal Credit Union, and then he owner finances it to me. So we have a mortgage on top of that one. So I pay him and he pays his mortgage. Does that make sense? So yeah, he thinks that, but I satisfied his mortgage and Federal's mortgage. So now there's no mortgage on the property.
But he don't know that though.
No, he's still paying his mortgage, and I'm still paying him. So he doesn't know what's happened. So what I do is I end up borrowing like 5 mortgage. No, I forget. I borrowed almost $1 million on his house, and I had another house I borrowed like $400,000.
You got the money?
Yeah, 1.3 million. I deposited. I got about 700,000 out of the bank, and I got arrested. But I talked my way out of it. I convinced them that they got the wrong guy, that I haven't done anything wrong. That sounds to me like the bank employees must have done something illegal. I certainly wouldn't know how to commit fraud.
So you set up a bank account in the fake ID name?
In multiple bank accounts. I actually went and got a corporation and opened up multiple bank accounts in the corporation's name and Gary Sullivan's name and other homeless people's names.
So at the closing, you would tell the closing agent, the attorney, or the title company to deposit the money where?
They would either wire the money or they'd give me, I'd have them break it up into multiple cancers.
Payable to who?
Whoever some of it could be me.
Not Matt Cox.
No, Gary
Sullivan.
And then some would be to the corporation.
LLC?
Yeah. And then it could be anybody's name. I probably had a half a dozen to a dozen IDs. So I also know this guy. One guy's name was Scott Cugno. Like, oh, Scott Cugno. I cashed about $400,000 worth of checks in Scott Cugno's name. So then I take those and I would deposit in the different bank accounts and I drain the bank accounts slowly. Now, one day I go into Wachovia Bank and I get arrested.
In Charlotte?
Yes. No, Charlotte. No. I'm in South Carolina.
Columbia.
I live in Charlotte.
In Columbia.
Right, in Columbia. So I get arrested.
5-0 come. You go into the bank. You trying to take out $700,000?
No, I'm taking out 8,000, 4,000, 3. I got like 12 bank accounts. So I'm going every other day and taking out a little bit. And sometimes I would deposit money. Sometimes I come in and I say, hey man, I need $4,000. They go, okay. And I go, also, can you make a cashier check for 20 to this corporation? Or $20,212, whatever. They give it to me and I go deposit it in the other bank account. And then I'd say, oh, by the way, can I get 6,000 out? They go, sure, no problem. Keep in mind, there's already 100,000 in there, 200,000. So the accounts don't just drain. They go like, they kind of go like this. And then, slowly over time, they get less. And one day, boom, they hit the ground. Because they'll shut your shit off. If you put 200,000 in an account and just drain it, cash, they'll just shut it off.
You going how many times a week to this bank?
Once or twice a week to each bank.
Different branches.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I got about $700,000 out in cash.
So talk about the day you go in and the 5-0 come.
So one day I went in to Wachovia and I walked in there as Gary Sullivan. I walk in. Keep in mind at this point I know I'm on the FBI's wanted list. I know I'm on the Secret Service's wanted list, most wanted list. I know I'm on the Marshals' most wanted list because they're going to my family. They're going everywhere. There's already been probably half a dozen newspaper articles on me, but they're newspaper. Like this is before the internet. Really.
What year is this?
This is 2004. Mm-hmm. So there's the internet, but it ain't what it is now.
No.
You still have newspapers.
You still had AOL with the dial-up.
Well, and you have the newspapers. So people are getting their news from the local newspaper, the local news outlets. Like you're not getting information from New York if you live in Tampa, Florida. You're getting shit from the Tampa Tribune. You're getting from the local news. Maybe you're watching the national news, which is an hour, and it's only the big story. So I'm not worried. I'm thinking I'm going to do this forever. So I go in the bank one day to get like nothing, $4,000. And the girl behind the counter says, okay, Mr. Sullivan, hold on, let me go. I got to go check something, which is no big deal. It's a new account. So they used to have to call She walks in the back, no big deal. I'm standing there. All of a sudden, within like I'm there for 4 or 5 minutes. Suddenly, a guy reaches over and grabs my wrist and pulls it behind my back. And as I'm turning, another guy grabs my other wrist. And I'm like, what? But there's 2 sheriff's deputies there. So I don't yank away or anything because they're deputies. So they push my hands together, they cuff me, and they say, listen, Mr. Sullivan, I'm sorry, we're going to have to detain you. We're waiting for a detective. No, an investigator or detective, I forget what they call it. And I was like, okay. And they walked me into an office.
In the bank.
In the bank. Keep in mind, there's still people in the bank.
Yeah, the public's still in there.
Yeah, they're sitting there staring at me like through the glass and everything. Like they didn't shut it down or anything. I know people who they've shut banks down before, where they get grabbed in a bank, they'll shut it down. They didn't do that. So I'm waiting. I'm thinking that an FBI agent's going to show up, but he doesn't show up. A guy comes in with a gray suit, but they keep calling me Gary Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan. So a guy walks in and he says, "Hey, Mr. Sullivan, my name is Detective whatever. I forget his name." And I think in my book I call him like Mr. John Richmond, because I think it was in Richmond County, I think. So he says, "Hey, my name's John Richmond," whatever. I was like, "Okay, hey, what's up?" And he says, I want to let you know you're being detained. You're not under arrest. I go, "Well, I feel like I'm under arrest." And I show him the cuffs. He goes, "Oh," I said, I don't know why I'm in cuffs. He goes, "Oh, you know what? Take those off him." And so, and he says to me, he says, "Listen, we have a complaint from Wachovia. They said you're running some kind of a scam. They said it's I go, "A scam?" And they go, "Yeah, you've taken out like 3 mortgages on and I had 5 mortgages on that house, by the way, maybe 6. Really had more than that if you include the ones I satisfied. But right now I have 5 mortgages
On one house.
On one house.
That's crazy.
And it's about $900,000 on that one house. So I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And so he sits down, he calls the head of Wachovia's fraud department on the phone. And that guy explains, "Listen, this is what he's done. He's taken out 3 mortgages," because they don't know about all 5. Because you have to think they would mail them in, and it takes a while for it to show up. You mail in a mortgage, even if they get it and they scan it, it would take a while for it to show up in their system. So they only caught 3. And I was like, "Well, I don't understand." I said, he goes, "You have 3 mortgages on the house." And I go, "Is that a problem?" And I remember the detective said, "I don't know. And I remember thinking, "Oh, I'm walking out of here." I'm like, where I should have broke down and been terrified and thought, "Oh man, I'm fucked. My first thought was, "Oh, I'm walking out of here. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know anything about what's going on." Then he gets the guy from the fraud guy on the phone. Now I'm concerned. This guy knows what he's talking about. So what I do is I just start spinning everything he's saying. He said, "Oh, he took out 3 first mortgages." And I go, No. I said, I have a first mortgage with Wachovia, because obviously they know that's the case. I said, "But I have a second mortgage and a HELOC. And that's perfectly, at this time, that was perfectly legal." I go, "What's wrong with that?" And he's like, "They're all first mortgages." And I'm like, "That's not true. I saw those documents. I never saw anything about first mortgage," which is true, because mortgages don't state their position. They just state it's a lien. The placement of the mortgage is what determines it's the first, second, or third mortgage. So he knows that I know that nowhere on that document did it say first mortgage. So he's starting to think, he knows something's wrong, but anyway, he's not like, "Oh, that's true." I go, "No, I read those documents. None of them said first mortgage, second mortgage." I said, "Yeah, I had one with Wachovia." And I started explaining. So I start spinning them. Then it becomes, "Why is he taking out all this money in cash?" And I said, "Oh, I work for a labor company," and I give him my business card to the cop, and it says labor on demand, has Gary Sullivan, site manager, has a phone number. I said, "You can call them right now." I said, what I do is I said, sometimes these guys get paid on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'll cash their checks for them because I know the checks are good. So I said, these check cashing places charge them like 10%, but the checks are good. So sometimes I'll cash them out if I know the guys, and I'm like, "I don't know if that's illegal." They're like, "Oh, no, that's not illegal. That's not." Okay. So, I'm spinning and spinning. At some point while we're sitting there, the guy says, "I'm telling you, he's running a scam. We want him arrested. I'm telling you right now," he said, "this guy," he said, "he's got a fake ID. Look at his ID. It starts with 000. Just so happens that South Carolina IDs start with 000. So I look at the guy. He's got my driver's license. He's got my ID. He said, no. He's on the phone. He's not on speakerphone. He goes, no. He said, listen, this is Gary Sullivan. I've already run him through NCIC. It's him. And I lean in. I go, come on now. Now I'm not Gary Sullivan. I go, bro, what are we doing here? What are we doing? And he goes, I know, Gary. I know. And he says, listen, I don't know what I think you guys might have a problem at the bank. Because that's what I kept saying. They got a problem at the bank. The loan officers may have done something. I didn't do anything. I said, I went to one loan officer, said I need a first mortgage. She said, I can only get you a first mortgage for this much, but I have a friend that can get you a second mortgage. She sent me to a friend of hers. That girl said, I know somebody can get you a HELOC. I got a HELOC. I said, I haven't done anything. Well, I just went to where they told me to go. This is completely untrue, by the way. It's a complete lie. I went into all of these banks at the same time asking for a first mortgage. So this guy, the detective says, look, follow me back to the police department. Fill out a police report. We're going to let you go. We're going to look into it. I said, no problem. I get in my car. I drive back to the police department. I fill out a police report. He lets me go.
You had a shirt and tie on?
I had a, what did I have?
Business
I think
casual?
I kind of had, I probably
casual?
had slacks and nice shoes. And I had probably a button down like this. Like I didn't look like an...
So you followed the 5 back to the police department, police station, and what's your heart gotta be?
I'm terrified. I'm fucking terrified. Here's what's so funny about it is that I'm terrified. My girlfriend at the time, remember I told you I took this girl?
Yeah.
She's calling me. She's been calling me. And she's like, listen to me. She said, I'm telling you right now. She said, get on the interstate and run. And I can't run. It's the fucking cop. Like, I'm not outrunning the cops. And I'm like, what are you, stupid? I'm not, she's like, no, if you go in there. I go, and I remember saying, if I go in there and I get arrested, they're going to arrest me as Gary Sullivan. You get me a lawyer, get me out on bond. Because at that time, when they would print you, they didn't, if your identity wasn't in question, they wouldn't run your identities because they charged them. So I could go and get my ID. I have a driver's license issued by the DMV. My identity is not in question. That's not what they're worried about. They're saying that some kind of fraud's been committed. Nobody's thinking that it's not me. The cop has said, I already checked. This is Gary Sullivan. He has no, so they're going to print me, give me a bond, get me out before they can run my prints. Now, of course, they do it and it's running.
Where, with the computers?
Yeah. But, so anyway, I remember she said, if you go in that police station, I am not getting you, I'm not getting you. She goes, she's the one holding all the money. She goes, I'm not risking everything I have for you. And so when I went in there and I fill out the police report and he lets me go, I remember I got in my car. She'd been calling over and over. I got multiple phones. So I walk over, I pick up that phone, and I go, you fucking bitch. I fucking lost it on her. And she's like, no, I'm packing my stuff right now. I was coming to get you. Bullshit.
Right.
Anyway, I get in the car and I leave. I end up packing up. I drive back to Charlotte, pack up all my stuff. I go to Houston, Texas. I drop everything off because that's where she had relocated. You
drive to Houston?
Yeah, in like a moving truck, like a Ryder or something. Mm-hmm. And so I drive there. She and I get into a huge argument. We split up when I say split up the money, I take $100,000. She keeps like $500,000-$600,000 because her argument was, you can go somewhere else and do this again. I can't. You'll have $1 million in a month. I have to live off this money. And I was like, oh, and then she's wanted by this point. She's wanted.
She's wanted on the FBI too?
Absolutely. They're looking for her. So I'm like, okay, so I take off and I leave. She also thinks I'm coming back, by the way. Like, we'd done this multiple times, gotten into arguments, and I'd always come back. Because she would call my phone and beg me to plead, I'm sorry, don't leave me. Then I'd come back. This time when I walked out, I put the phone on the fucking counter and just left. Because I knew I'm not coming back. Got in the truck, drove all the way back to my old apartment, which was in Charlotte. Went into the parking garage. Got my car, drove out, because I remember thinking that by this point, they're probably tracked it back here. So I thought, I might be fucked. So I drive my car across the street, or it's actually catty corner to my apartment complex, and I park go in to get a Starbucks. Go into Starbucks, get I order my cup of coffee, and there's two people from the apartment complex that are standing there waiting for their order. And one of them bolts out the back door. This is downtown Charlotte. So I'm sitting there, then I get my order. The guy gets his order, he's just standing there with a tray full of things staring at me. So I get my order, I walk outside, I get in my car, I put my thing in, I put my seatbelt on, I'm playing with the radio and getting everything ready, and he walks out, he's just standing there looking at me. And I'll be honest with you, this is like the 4th or 5th of the month. He wants to, I hadn't paid my rent because I know I'm leaving. So I'm thinking this might be about the rent. Like, I don't know how they do it in North Carolina. Do they have to serve you? Like, is he waiting for, like, what's happening? So I'm not thinking it like they've tracked me back here.
Right.
Because for my mind, I'm nowhere near the apartment complex. I'm like a block away. So all of a sudden, he starts yelling, he's right here, he's right here. I mean, fucking coffee's fucking jerking all around. I'm like, I look in the rearview mirror, there's two guys running towards the back of my car, and I punch it and I take off. Now, I didn't know at the time. I remember at the time thinking, so you understand the whole time the whole time I'm thinking FBI, FBI. But really the people who are following me, it's more the Secret Service that are really interested in me. But I found out later when I got to prison, I ordered the Freedom of Information Act. And the people that were chasing me, it was actually 2 U.S. Marshals. And I didn't know that at the time.
Right.
I remember, listen, when I first tell this story to people, when I was in prison at first, for the first year or two, I was like, yeah, man, the FBI, they came right after my car. Then I ordered the Freedom of Information Act. So 3 years into it, I start getting it back, and I find that date, and it's the U.S. Marshals.
How did they track you back to Charlotte?
Because I was driving a vehicle that was listed in the name, Michael Eckert in Charlotte. So I was living as Michael Eckert in Charlotte. So I'm driving his car all the way to South Carolina, and I'm parking, not usually in the bank parking lot. I'm usually walking a little bit to get the cash. Well, when the cop said, follow us back to the police station, that's my car. So I have to go as Gary Sullivan, I get into a car in the name of Michael Eckert. They asked me too, who's Michael Eckert? I go, oh, he's my boss. They go, you don't have a car? I said, well, I just haven't bought one yet. And they were like, oh, okay. They're okay. And then the other problem was I had an ID, not a driver's license. So at one point they say, this is back when I was in Columbia, they said, do you have a driver's license? I said, yeah. I said, in Nevada. I have no idea. The guy was a homeless guy. I don't know if he's got a fucking ID in Nevada or a driver's license. They went and checked. They came back. They said, yeah, he's got one in Nevada. And I was like, fuck. So then I get into my boss's car. So they have the tag. So I know they're probably going to track it back. But I also don't really know if they put the scam together yet. Like, is it going to take them a week, 2 weeks? Do they have to... But really within a few days. So, and keep in mind too, it takes days for me to drive all the way to Houston. So it's been like 6 days.
Yeah.
Well, 5 or 6 days before I get all the way back. By the time I get back, they're there questioning. And that's when they almost grab me there. So I take off there. Listen, I have no IDs. I now know they know I'm driving around in a car in the name Michael Eckert with a driver's license in the name Michael Eckert. So I know I'm fucked. I can't use Gary Sullivan. I have some other IDs, but I had to leave all of those in Houston. I have nothing. So I literally, when I take off, I drive about half a mile to a mile down the street. And as I'm driving, there's like 3 white guys that clearly look homeless. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I pull over. I'm half a mile to a mile away from these fucking FBI or these marshals screaming in the phone what my tag number is. I pull over. I jump out with a fucking clipboard and my little Salvation Army statistical surveyor badge, and I say, hey, you guys, I'm taking a survey real quick. Doing it for Salvation Army. I'm a statistical surveyor. We're paying $20 cash right now for surveys. So they go, oh, I'm not interested. I go, no, I pay $20 cash right now. I show them the cash. I pull out a little wad of cash and stick it back. I go, right now, I'll give you $20. Right now? Right now. Take 5 minutes, man. I'll fill out the question for you. What's your name? You know the name of that guy? So it was like Walter Holcomb, somebody else, like son of somebody, like somebody Phillips. What was the other guy's name? The other guy's name was Marion Carter. No, yeah, Marion. Oh, wait. No, his name was Joseph Marion Carter Jr. And I went as Carter. I didn't want to be Marion. I didn't want to be Joe. So I went as Carter. I would introduce myself as Carter. I didn't want to be a junior, so I was like, okay, Carter. So I get all their information. I drive all the way to Nashville, Tennessee. I order all their shit online. I print out all the documents, mail them out. All that stuff, as it's coming back, I get in that vehicle. So wait, I get their information back. I go get a driver's license in the name Joseph Carter. I then get in that car that I know they're looking at for, right? The Infiniti. Drive it all the way back to all the way back to Charlotte, North Carolina. I leave it in long-term parking. I get onto a plane. I fly back to Nashville. And within a week of getting to Nashville, I dumped the car and I bought a new car in Carter's name. I bought an apartment. And within probably a couple of months, I think I went on some dating apps for a few months to start dating some different girls. Because I've got about $100,000. So then when the money starts dwindling, I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to do something here. So I go ahead and I start buying houses for cheap prices. I start the whole scam again. I start reporting them high, buying the houses and borrowing money, pull out a few $100,000. I end up borrowing 2.5 million, or I think the paper said like 3.5 million, might be 3.5 million in Nashville. Might have been 2.5. Anyway, the total, it's like 16 million that I was responsible between Tampa and me being on the run. It was like 15 million. So anyway, I was there for about a year and a half, and eventually Dateline NBC comes out. It's coming out, and I figure I'm going to go to like Australia, and I end up getting caught. The girl I was dating there knew who I was. She told a friend of hers who I was. That girl called the Secret Service, and they arrested me. That's it. That's a quick version of my story.
So when you dipped out of the parking lot in downtown Charlotte and the marshals are chasing you, you say you drive about a mile and a half and get out the car and start doing a survey with some homeless people?
Yeah, there was, what the name of the place was? The reason I knew for sure they were homeless, they were hanging out in front of a place that all the homeless people called the Dog Pound. It was a shelter. So I knew I was coming up on the shelter.
But you're not thinking that police cars is getting ready to come?
Yeah, I'm also kind of thinking, get out of the car. You know what I'm saying?
Where did you leave the car?
I parked it in the parking lot, a couple streets over, and walked back. So if they find the car,
fine, you ain't in it.
I can see the car from where I'm at. So I'm kind of like taking their surveys and keeping an eye. And I don't really see anybody. It's not like I saw cop cars. Woo woo! I don't see anybody.
So after you do all of the things with the homeless, then you walk back to the car, get in it, and dip.
Yeah.
Man,
there's no Uber.
Crazy, man.
But there's no Uber.
Yo.
It's like, why did you Uber? There's no Uber. There's no nothing. I've got an ID. Like I've got one. Everything on me says arrest him. I have nothing. I don't have my Matt Cox ID. I left that in Tampa fucking 3 years earlier, 2 years earlier. So I have nothing. So I figure, fuck it. I can drive for the next day on this car on the interstate, get there, dump the car. But I couldn't dump the car because when I got there, I had to order all these guys' documents. So I order their documents, fill it out, and as soon as it comes in the mail, I'm filling it out. It's going right back out. Like that same day, I'm driving to the PO, going to the post office and putting it in the mail. Like it's getting there at fucking 10 in the morning. It's going out back at like 4 or 5. So, and then within a few days, I'm getting birth certificates, social security cards. I'm getting their high school transcripts, like a certified copy of your high school transcript. I'm registering to vote as them. I fill out a lease agreement as them, for them, for the apartment. And then I take that stuff and I go to the DMV and I get an ID. Matter of fact, I took the driving test in that stolen car. Or that, not stolen car, wasn't stolen. The car they were looking at. I took a driving test in that car. And I remember thinking the whole time, I'm thinking, man, they're like, do they run these? Do they run the plate? They don't do shit. And I almost failed the driving test in Nashville. Because, the alcohol limit is different in every state.
Right.
And I remember I got that question wrong, and I got the question wrong where they showed business people on the yellow sign walking, and they had like a briefcase. And one of the things was like crosswalk. I was like, crosswalk. Be careful. Pedestrians, crosswalk. Well, there's another one that says, be careful. There's business. It's a business district. I didn't know that.
Right.
I fucking got it. So I remember I went up to the counter and said, I walked to the counter and said, hey man, I said, I almost failed. I said, hey, walked up as the, whatever, Joseph. I go, hey, Joseph Carter. And she's like, right. I said, I almost failed that test. To the woman, and she goes, I know you did. She said, you were one away. Started laughing. I was like, we're both having a good laugh. And she gave me a fucking driver's license. And I was using the driver's license. I jumped in the car, drove straight back to Charlotte and left it in long-term parking, got on a plane, flew back. So everything about that wanted identity is gone. It's over there.
It's in Charlotte.
And everything about, I've got a new identity. I got driver's license. Within a week or two, I'm getting a passport. So, and then I'm getting same thing with Walter Holcomb. I get an ID in his name. So I just start getting starting the whole process over again. Starting to get hundreds of thousands of dollars. Again, before you know it, it's a couple $1 million. Start buying houses, kind of reinvesting. I'm thinking I'm going to I thought I was going to steal I thought I was going to get a few $1 million in Nashville and then maybe relocate again.
To where?
Initially, I didn't think about Australia. I thought just stay in the United States. I was going to go somewhere else. Keep in mind, I've had plastic surgery. I've had a nose job. Like on the run, I had a nose job. I had what they call a mini facelift. I had liposuction. I had my teeth done. I had 2 hair transplants. So I'm trying to look as different as possible. So I'm kind of doing that while I'm on the run. I'm assuming I can kind of maybe get up and maybe go somewhere in New Orleans, somewhere in the South, semi-rural. And I figured I'd just start buying real estate and renting out houses and just eventually they'd forget about me. But yeah, I didn't get that far. Then I found out Dateline was coming out, and that's why I decided, you know what, I'm gonna have to leave the United States. Which wouldn't have mattered because eventually I would have been caught.
What did Dateline have to do with anything?
Because Dateline was the first time that I would have suddenly been national.
You would have been profiled on
Yes.
Dateline?
Like people in their living rooms everywhere. At that time, there weren't 5,000 channels. There were 3 channels and your local, and even if you had cable, it's 50 channels. Yeah, but there's only about 7 that are worth watching.
Right.
Everybody at that time watched Dateline.
Was watching TV.
Everybody. Right. And Dateline was a big show.
Right.
So they're going to watch. It's like, I knew for sure, like, look, if you know me, if you're the barista at Starbucks and I come in there every day and get a venti vanilla latte, you're going to be, even if you didn't watch it that night, you might watch a rerun 6 months later, maybe 2 years later, you're going to watch a rerun and be like, holy shit, that guy comes in the fucking place every day. Oh my God, I know that. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I knew, I was like, I got to get out of here. I didn't even know there was. Like, I'm assuming I go to Australia, get a few more plastic surgeries, start working out, maybe do some steroids, something, and start my life over again. These people aren't even know the fuck I am. Even if they saw me, you wouldn't recognize me. It'll be 10 years before somebody maybe sees that program and knows who I am, but I'll look so different by that point. But it never happened. That was my thought process. But in reality, in 10 years, anything that they post is everywhere and everybody would see you. So I thought I could get away and kind of reacclimate myself into society and blend in. But now I realize that was never going to happen. That was a ludicrous idea. It was a great idea. It kept me going at night, but that was probably never going to happen. It was unrealistic.
So the new girl that you met, her sister turned you in?
No, it's just a friend of hers.
A friend of hers turned you in Nashville?
Yes.
The feds come and arrest you?
They watched my house for 3 days till they decided it's definitely him. And then they arrest me.
And you don't see the street no more?
I've never been. No, I've never got let out. Keep in mind when they bring you in and to determine if they're going to give you bond, they have before and after photographs of me from plastic surgery. They've got probably 12 or 14 photographs of me on different passports that I've had. I've had 24 passports in different people's names. They got probably 15, 16 photos of me from passports that they knew about. Lined up, they blew them up. They got the big cardboard, whatever those things mounted. They got tripods with cardboard. There's 5 or 6 of them with different things, and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, they're not giving me bond. And I look at my lawyer and I go, are what is this for? And she goes, it's for bond. And I go, they're going to give me bond? She goes, no, I don't think so. She said, they're not giving you bond. She said, hell, you got caught. Like they caught you with 6 passports.
This is in Nashville?
No. By this point, they moved me back to Atlanta, Georgia.
So they transport you back to Atlanta?
Yeah, because I've been indicted in Florida. I've been indicted in Florida, Atlanta, South Carolina, and Nashville.
Not Charlotte?
No, not Charlotte, because I didn't really did anything there. What I do, I lied on I didn't do any major. What's so funny is I did fraud there, but not to the extent. And they're kind of like, you already got the guy. Like, so he took some credit cards out. So he stole some people's identities. So he got some personal loans. Like maybe he stole a few $100,000 in bullshit.
Right.
You guys got him for millions.
Right.
Like we're not gonna fucking go and indict this guy. He's done.
How did they transport you back from Nashville to Atlanta?
They put you on a couple buses, and then they sent me to Oklahoma City.
Wait, U.S. Marshals?
Yeah, and then they sent me to Oklahoma City. I was there for like a week. Put me on another transport, flew me back to Atlanta, and then they drove me to. I was in at first I was in Union City, and then I ended up getting moved to Atlanta City Detention Center.
So you were prosecuted in Atlanta?
Yeah, you have to sign the
John B. Russell building.
Yes, they have you sign a what's called a Rule 11, which allows them to consolidate all of your indictments
into one place.
Right. If not, let's say I pled guilty to Atlanta, and then Tampa charges me. So now I've got all I've really done is I have another criminal history point. So now they hit me, and whatever they give me is even higher, and they usually stack it.
Right.
So then they move me to now I've got another criminal history point, and so I ended up with 150 fucking years. Where if you just let them consolidate and you fight it at one location, you can get a better deal. Not that I got a great deal, but I was also fucking extremely guilty. So guys, you go to trial? Like, no. I wouldn't go to trial if I was innocent on the feds. You're gonna be found guilty. Like you got about an 80% chance of being found guilty if you're innocent. If you're guilty, you can't go to trial. It's insane.
So Matt, so how much time they gave you?
They gave me 26 years and 4 months.
Really? Based on a $9 million base offense level loss, a financial loss? Or was it more?
No, my PSI said 32 years to life. But I argued before. I basically what I said was
you had a paid lawyer?
No, public defender. So my public defender, they send me this form, right? And my pre-sentence report. I look at it and I go, that's the max. 32 years. 30 years is the max for bank fraud. 2 extra years for aggravated identity theft. I'm like, that's the maximum. And she's like, yeah, I know. I go, why would I plead guilty to the maximum? And she's like, well, I said, I'll remove my plea and go to trial. At least then I could preserve my right to appeal. And she was like, so she calls down, and then she comes back, and we basically argue, and they bring it down to 26 years and 4 months. I always just say 26 years. So 26 years. And what they did was they said, look, 26 years, and we're asking you to be interviewed by Dateline. If you're interviewed by Dateline, we'll consider that substantial assistance. And I went, okay. And they said, well, we'll reduce your sentence. Okay, so I get interviewed by Dateline, NBC News. They'd already asked me to cooperate against my co-defendants, which I agreed to, but my co-defendants had already told on me. So when you go in there and they're like, well, this is what Dave Walker said about you, and they ramble it off, and they're like, is that right? You're like, yeah, that's right. This is what Susan said. This is what, and you're like, this is what Kelly said. You're like, yeah. This is what Rudy said. And you're like, yeah. Boy, Rudy said a lot. That was a big, he came in multiple times. Oh, good for Rudy. So I'm done. So there's no help there. So then they said, be interviewed by Dateline. We'll consider that substantial assistance. We'll reduce your sentence. Okay.
Did you negotiate how much they was going to reduce the sentence?
No, because they won't even sign anything. They're like, no, here's the way it works. You do it, and then we'll consider it, and we'll give you what we think it's worth. And what choice do I have, though? Do you see what I'm saying? You have no. Everybody's like, go out and be like, look, I want it in writing. When they say no, you're not getting it in writing, you go, oh, okay, well then I'll just go to sentencing. Right, go to sentencing, get your 26 years, and leave. Like they don't
care less.
They don't care.
They
You
care
think that
less.
there's no negotiation here. You do what we tell you to, and we'll maybe we'll give you something. And that's where, like, you're like, I'm looking at my lawyer and she's like, yeah, that's how it works.
So you do the Dateline?
I do Dateline.
How much time they gave you?
None. I got 26 years.
Oh, man.
So my lawyer calls just before the sentencing and she says, hey, what are you guys going to recommend he gets off? And they said, yeah, we saw the episode and the interview and it's just not enough. It's not enough for what? It's not enough to give him any time off. But you said you'd give him time off. No, we said we'd consider it. And we did. We considered it and it's not enough. And so you're like, well,
yo, Matt, when they told you 26, what did the judge? It's in months, right?
316 months.
What did you? What went through your body when you heard that, man?
I was kind of numb, but when he said it, and I realized, like, you got over 26 years. Like, the heat shot up from my feet, shot up through my face, and I started sweating, and I was just like, this is, like, you know what I kept thinking? Like, this isn't happening. Like,
Yo, that's the same shit happened to me, man.
I couldn't have done anything to get this much time. Like, what did I do? I didn't kill anyone. I didn't do, like, I was like, this isn't, I kept waiting for my lawyer to say, okay, here's what we're going to do now. And instead, she just started crying. When your lawyer's crying, do you know how much trouble you're in?
Your lawyer started crying?
Of course, she's in tears. She's fucking just, and I'm looking at her
Oh, man.
So I go, and I said to her, I said, so what do we do? Do we appeal this? And she goes, you waived your right to appeal. I go, I did? When did I do that? Like, you're signing shit and they rambling stuff. You're like, yeah, you're signing everything. And you don't, at some point I signed something that said I waived my right to appeal.
Yo, when the feds came to my office with the search warrant, man, they was in my office for like 2 hours, like 20 agents, man, with the windbreaker joints, with the alphabet. I always say they had a windbreaker convention at my office, right? And you could spell any word in the English language with all the letters they had on the back of that thing, right? So when they leave, they don't arrest me. And I'm sitting there like, did that really just happen? Did that really just happen? And that's the feeling you get, man.
Because, like, if a client had walked in your office 5 minutes later, they wouldn't have known anything. They'd be like, hey, I was wondering if you could do my 2010 taxes. And you'd be like, they took all my shit.
People came. All right, so you get sentenced. Where did they send you first? What joint you hit first?
Coleman Medium.
In Florida?
Yeah. I was there for 3 years. And I was at the Medium and I got a request. The government contacted my lawyer. First I got a letter, called my lawyer. My lawyer said I already got the same letter, which they wanted me to be interviewed by American Greed.
On CNBC?
Yeah. So I said, well, are they going to reduce my sentence? And she said, well, let me talk to him. She got a letter that said, well, if he does this, we could put it together with the other thing, and we'll definitely consider it substantial assistance. And we believe that this will meet the threshold to reduce his sentence. So I was interviewed by American Greed, and it came out. My lawyer went to the prosecutor's office and said, hey, listen, American Greed, he did it. It came out. What do you think? She said, it's just not enough. By that point, I was on the, I'd been moved from the Medium to the Low, which is in the same complex. And I'm at a low security prison. And then I got contacted by a guy who does, so if you're a mortgage broker or a loan officer in the United States, you have to take 9 hours of continuing education courses. 3 hours of those courses are on ethics and fraud. So I got contacted by one of the companies that does this. And that guy said, I'd love to write this course with you. I'd love for the course to be based on your story because you were a mortgage broker. You owned a brokerage business. You've done every fraud out there. You've committed. Like there's like a list of them, and I literally hit almost every single one. There's like one or two that I don't hit exactly, but damn close. So, which is basically was stealing people's raw land and selling it out from underneath them. Like I had never done that. So he ends up going to Atlanta with my lawyer, meets with the assistant U.S. attorney, and they decide that they said if he will do this, we will definitely present this to the court and reduce his sentence. We'll definitely consider it. Well, and so I do it, and they go to the court, and the court says, they don't go to the court. Sorry, my lawyer talks to them, and they said, yeah, it's just not enough. Not enough. It's just not enough.
That's the third time they told you not enough?
Like at that point, it was like, put in for a 1-man or for a 2-man cube. You might as well sign up for Unicorn. You're going to be here a while. You need to go ahead. You need to join a soccer team, or maybe like start learning how to play handball, because you need to get good at something. You got maybe learn to play guitar, something. You got the time to learn some shit at this point. But what ends up happening is I end up filing. I have a guy who's a Sparta lawyer who was there. He files a 2255 for me, and he eventually gets them to reduce my sentence by 7 years.
A 2255 is bad attorney, bad counseling, or
yeah. It's you're basically telling the
you
court,
blame your attorney.
Yes. Keep in mind, I had to call my attorney
and tell her you were filing it.
Yeah, I'd already filed it, so I called her. I'm like, just to see if they record. I was like, hello, and she's like, hey, what's going on? And she said nothing. And I said, no. I said, oh, okay. She said, I did find out that you feel I'm ineffective, that you felt I was an ineffective attorney. I go, it was a difficult case. It was a hard case. Like nobody really.
This is a public defender.
This is my public defender, which I thought it's called an ineffective assistance counsel.
Yeah,
saying you were ineffective, and I'm like, it was complicated. We all make mistakes. I'm not trying to be mean to her, and she's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. She said, I understand. Anyway, eventually, what happens is we get the court to reduce my sentence by 7 years for that, and then I go.
So now you're down to 19.
I'm at 19 and change. Yeah. So then I go back to court. Go back to Coleman, and I'm walking around the yard, and I'm thinking, now keep in mind, with good time, if I get time off for RDAP, some other stuff, I've done 7 years at this point. I probably have another 7 years, at least 7 years, maybe 8. And by this point, I've done 7 years, and I thought, you got 7 more to go. You didn't think you could do 7. You have 7 more to go.
How old are you?
Oh man, at that point I was maybe 44, 45, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you could do 7 more years. You can do 7 more years. And keep in mind, people know I've gone back to court, and I've come back,
which is not a good sign.
It's not good. It's not good for me, right?
In the feds, it's not a good sign when you get your sentence and then you go back to court. That's a sign that you're cooperating. That's the rumor that's going to start instantly. Soon as you come back, you will have that label.
Yeah, you're a rat. You're a snitch, whatever. So, but I was lucky because I'm able to come back. People know I've written these courses. They know I've been interviewed. So what's going around really is like, no, he went back to get time knocked off because he was interviewed by Dateline. And they can see the paperwork. You can look it up. You can see it. So it's pretty good. Like people aren't thinking anything, like that. Some people know I went back to cooperate. Like any of my friends know, your group of 4 or 5 guys, they know. So they're also, if guys are saying, yo, bro, what's up with your boy? Such and such. He's like, oh, yeah, he went back to court. They're like, yeah, man, what's up with that? Oh, no, you don't understand. And they're telling them this and this and this. They're telling them the right things.
But you went to cooperate.
But no, I went to get resentenced for Dateline.
Oh, right.
So I didn't cooperate.
And all of that is impatient.
Right, but keep in mind too, I did cooperate. It's just when I cooperated, everybody I cooperated against had already cooperated against me. Like I never got anything for that.
Right.
There's nothing, that's not helping me.
Right.
So, and it's funny too, because guys would always say to me, guys walk around there like, yo, bro, how much time did you get, Cox? And I go, 26 years, but somebody might fuck up and tell me where there's a body. I could be out of here next week. You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, oh, dang, man, that's how it is. Like, oh, that's exactly how it is. And I'd laugh and joke and they'd be like, because it's kind of a joke. But there, I was fucking not, I'm not playing. Like, we're joking, but I'm serious. I don't want to be here. I'm done. I need to go home. I'm ready. I already got too much fucking time. I didn't deserve this much time. And all the people that helped me facilitate this crime blamed me and never got indicted. Very few people did any time.
Really?
I had 2 co-defendants. One, the chick that I took off with, she got 50 months and they dropped it to 40 months. And she got a halfway house. So she ended up doing just a little bit over 3 years. No, I'm sorry. She did 3 years. She did a little bit under 3 years. The other one was a girl named Allison. Allison kept waiting to get arrested. So one day she gets her lawyer. She goes to the federal building. And she just says, look, I just want to cooperate and be sentenced to go to jail. I'm tired of waiting for you guys to
get it over with.
Right. So she cooperates against me. And they send her to jail. Well, their agreement with her was, you cooperate and we won't send you to jail. We'll make sure you get probation. But she ended up getting 30 months.
And cooperating.
So
they lied to her too.
Right. She actually, talk about someone who's absolutely not prepared for prison. She actually called Coleman, because at that time the camp was a woman's camp. She called them and said, hey, I'm scheduled. I'm pleading guilty. I'm going to get some prison time. I'm scheduled to turn myself in a few months. Is there any way I can come by and look at the place? And they go, I'm sorry? They said, yeah. Like, is there a tour that I can take that kind of will let me know where I'm going?
Wow.
And the woman starts giggling and says, no, sweetie, there's no tour.
It don't work like that.
You'll get the tour when you get here.
You'll get the crash course tour.
She's like, oh, okay. She said, I hung up, but I knew something was funny. Like, I knew she thought it was a joke or something. And when she got there and walked up, she said, hi, I'm Allison. They were like, oh, you're Allison. And she's like knew her name and everything. That's right. She's like, yeah. And she said, yeah, we've been waiting for you. She said, we got a real kick about the phone call about the tour, by the way. I mean, they strip her down and like, come on, here's the tour.
Go to R&D.
Go to fucking...
Yeah. Take
anyway.
These scrubs until we go get you some khakis.
Yeah. Pick up your pillow, grab your fucking... Anyway, so I get back from court and I'm walking the track, the internal track. Because there's one in the rec yard and there's an internal one, which is just sidewalks. So I'm walking the sidewalks with this guy named Ron Wilson. Ron Wilson was a con man he ran $102 million, or like $100 million Ponzi scheme. I want to say it was like 105, 109, maybe 102. $100 million Ponzi scheme. So
there was a lot of dudes when I was in the feds that did a lot of Ponzi scheme dudes.
Yeah. So he's walking the track. He seemed very religious. He was very good at religion, right? He knew the Bible inside and out, the whole thing. So a lot of the people that invested were like church people, churches, and pension funds were people that invested in him. And he's just blowing the money. He's not investing it in anything. So but people helped him and he's cooperating against those people. So I know he's cooperating. So we're walking around the track and he keeps telling me, well, once these guys get arrested, they're not going to reduce my sentence. They're not going to give me anything. And I'm like, well, why do you keep saying that? He's like, oh, they hate me. I'm like, okay, whatever. Everybody says they're FBI agent or Secret Service. They all say they hate him. So, okay, whatever. No, you don't understand. The U.S. attorney, they hate my guts. I'm like, okay. Well, look, if you're cooperating with them and people get sentenced, you can file a 2255. You'll be able to get something off. Trust me. I just did it. And he's like, you don't understand. Okay. He's a grumpy guy. So at one point I say to him, why do you keep saying this? Because he says it over and over again over the course of a month or so. And I'm like, why do you keep saying this? He goes, you don't understand. They think I hid Ponzi scheme money. I'm like, okay. Well, you didn't, so they'd have to find the money. No, you don't understand. Okay. So we're walking and walking. And then one day he says it again. I go, I don't know why he keeps saying this. He goes, can I trust you? And I go, probably not. And he goes, I did hide some Ponzi scheme money. And I went, really? I said, would you bury it? Like, what do you mean? Like, he got 19 and a half years. He's like 60 something. He was like 61, 62 years old. Like, you're dying in prison. And I'm like, I shouldn't say that because he expected to get his time knocked off. And I went, okay, well, wait a minute. I said, where did you hide the money? Did you bury it? Like, you're like, if you're thinking you're going to be able to get to this money, like you're going to be here for a while. Like, who's holding this money? And he said, well, the problem is I gave my wife like $150,000 in cash and gold. I said, okay. What do they call it? Precious metals and gold. Okay. No, precious metals and cash. I went, okay. He said, my brother's got like 30 grand. I went, oh, okay. And he said, he said, the problem is my wife, since I've been indicted, she knows that I had a girlfriend. She knows I was having an affair for like 3-4 years or 2-3 years. He said, she's so fucking upset with me. We're getting a divorce. And I think she's going to go and tell the Secret Service that I did hide Ponzi scheme money. She's going to turn over the money and they're going to use that to not reduce my sentence. And I said, well, they've interviewed her before and she told them that she wasn't hiding any money for you. And he's like, right? I said, right. So she's not going to do that. She'll get in trouble. He said, you don't understand her. You don't know. I said, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. So we keep walking around we talk about it a little bit here, a little bit there. Nothing really changes. And then probably, let's say 2-3 weeks, maybe a month later, I call my attorney. The
public defender.
This is a new public defender, by the way, the one that represented me when I went back to court. Because the first one, I was suing her, filed saying she's ineffective. So they gave me a new one. So I call her because she was supposed to send me a copy of my transcripts. She never did. Call her up. Hey, what's up? I tell her, I need my transcripts. She didn't say, oh, Matt, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, no problem. So while I'm talking to her, she says, how's everything going? I went, it's fine. And she said, anything going on in there? I went, no. She never wanted to talk to me before. So it was very odd that she said this. And she has nothing happening? And I went, no. And I said, no. I went, well, hey, wait a second. I said, listen to this. And I tell her what happened with Wilson.
On the prison phone.
On the prison phone with Ron Wilson. I just tell her, this is what happened.
That's being recorded.
And there's inmates walking by. You know where it is. It's right by the front. People are right there.
As soon as you come in the unit.
People are right next to you. Exactly.
There's phones. How many phones y'all have?
4 or 5. About 5, maybe 5.
We have 4.
We probably had 3 that were working, So
So it's motherfuckers on the phone, people walking by, talking, yelling, looking at the TV, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
And I'm sitting there snitching on another inmate. So I'm sitting there telling, this is what happened. This is what he said. I'm like, okay. And I said, this is what he said. She looks him up while I'm on the phone. She goes, oh wow. She's like, this is a bad guy. Like this guy, there's like churches. And then she starts telling me that, and she's like, oh, he's a bad guy. I was like, he seems all right to me. Seems okay. No, I don't hate him or anything. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, and she goes, well, let me look into this. I said, okay, well, let me know. And I hang up the phone, never thinking I'm talking to her again. I'm hoping to just get my fucking transcripts. A week later, a CO walks up and he goes, Cox. And I go, yeah, what's up? And he said, at the move, you got to go to SIS. And I went, oh, okay. I'm not thinking anything because I'm writing people's stories.
What's SIS stand for, man?
I think Special Investigative Services.
Okay.
So he says you got to go to SIS. And I don't think anything of it because typically I've gone there before because the mailroom has caught people's Freedom of Information Acts coming in that I'm doing research on. And they end up getting it. And then I come in, they go, well, what is this? And I go, oh, I'm writing a story on this guy, John Boziak. He's a credit card counterfeiter, blah, blah, blah. And they go, okay, here. And they give it to me. They're technically not supposed to, but by this point, I'd gotten some guys in Rolling Stone magazine. I've gotten a couple book deals. I've optioned, like they know I pass my time by writing true crime stories. So I get called to SIS. I walk in thinking they're going to give me a package, ask me some questions. They go sit over here. And I go, okay. I sit down and the cop dials the phone and he goes, you got to talk to this guy. And I go, who is it? He goes, just get the phone, man. I don't fucking know. I'm like, hello. And it's the guy goes, hey, I'm Agent something, I think Griffin, I forget his name, something Griffin with the Secret Service in South Carolina. I understand you know where Ron Wilson hid Ponzi scheme money. And I'm like, ooh, listen, I need something on paper that says you're going to get, no, because I promise you'll get some. I said, you're not in a position to promise me anything. I need something from the U.S. attorney saying that you're going to reduce my sentence if you make an arrest or you recover any money. I said, and it's not millions of dollars. It's very little money. It's maybe $100,000 or so. And they say, okay. So I get his email number, so I put him on my email, core links. Maybe a couple of weeks later, he sends me an email from the U.S. attorney saying, we'll reduce your sentence if we obtain a substantial amount of money, Ponzi scheme money, or if there's an indictment. I said, okay. So they look into it. So they start asking me questions like, okay, here's what he told me. Boom, 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 boom. I write the whole thing up. That's what
Y'all doing this over the phone or they came out?
No, I'm just emailing them. I've
this is all
called them.
through email?
Sometimes I would call them. What?
This is all through email?
I want it through email.
To document it.
Because I already know they're going to fuck me. They've already fucked me every time they've tried. So,
right.
And I'm in a fucking prison. Like, there's guys looking over your shoulder and shit, right? Like, there's, you're on the phone. Like, but I do want it documented.
Right.
So, I'm doing, they got the fucking things where they close off.
The quarter, yeah. When you
I'm leaning in, bro. So I'm typing my whole thing up. I don't smile. I know you can't think this is funny, but it is. So I type the whole thing up. They're asking questions. I answer the questions. No big deal. Send it off. Whatever. Months go by, and one day Wilson comes up to me and he goes, "You're not going to believe this." And I'm like, "What's up?" He goes, "I've been indicted." I went, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said and I have to act surprised. I have to be like, "What? That's crazy." I can't believe it. So he says, yeah. I'm like, but you were cooperating. He's like, I know. Here's what they found out. They called in my wife and asked her about the Ponzi scheme money, and she said she didn't have any. And I thought, fuck. Then they called his brother in. He comes in with a lawyer and gives them $150,000 in cash. And they're like, holy shit. And the next day, his wife comes back in and gives them $350,000 in cash and precious metals. So it's just shy of $500,000. Right. So he tells me this, and I went, what? He said, bro, I thought you said it was like 100,000, 150,000 or something like that. And he goes, I know. He's like, I didn't know if I could trust you. And I went, Ron.
Yo, man, crazy, man.
We're kindred spirits. I would never. So he ends up, he gets reindicted, and I remember, I'll tell you what I remember he said. He said, because I'm still thinking that's not a lot of money. He's actually lost $59 million in, so it's a $100 million Ponzi scheme, but the loss amount was like $59 million. So he's thinking to himself that, for $59 million, I'm thinking they got back $500,000. That's not a lot of money. And you can make the argument, well, okay, but if that's still, he stole this money from people that, retirees and whatever. They want anything they can get back. Right. So I'm thinking you could make that argument. So I'm sitting there, and he's like, they're gonna move me back to South Carolina to try me. He said, but I'm just gonna plead guilty. And I immediately go, you should go to trial. He's like, what? I said, absolutely, bro, you should go to trial. Because in my mind, if he goes to trial, they have to bring me as a witness. If I go back as a witness, there's no fucking way they can not give me cooperation for this.
If you take the stand.
If I take the stand.
Which you were willing to do.
Of course. I'm ready to cut every motherfucker's throat in that prison to get out of the... We're not friends. We're not going to be friends after this. I don't like you guys. So, I mean, it is what it is. I said, there's no fucking code. Everybody I fucking know is already rolled over on me. This guy's in the process of rolling over on his co-defendants. Everybody here is fucking ready to cut my throat. I don't fuck them. So, anyway, what happens is I tell him, you used to go back to fucking trial. He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't know. I go, well, you need to think about this. So he ends up put on what's called the pack out list. Maybe 4 or 5 days later, they move him back to South Carolina. His wife ends up getting, basically, it's like she got like 100 hours of, she gets like 1 year's probation and like 100 hours of community service, which I didn't even know the feds fucking did community service. And then his brother got a year, and he got like 40 hours of community service or something. Keep in mind, these people are like in their 60s. They're like 64, 65 years old. Ron Wilson gets 6 more months added onto his sentence. So I'm thinking,
they ain't gonna do nothing for you.
They're gonna do anything for me. Nobody even did prison time. Like, this guy's gonna get 6. He's already got 19 and a half years now, and they rounded it up to 6. Rounded it up to 20 years. So I'm not getting any time off my sentence for this, and which is exactly what happens when we eventually, I write a couple of letters, then I end up filing a motion, and then they come back and they say, we don't know what Mr. Cox is talking. We don't know anything about this.
The feds are saying this?
Feds are saying, keep in mind, I have a letter from the U.S. attorney, and they tell the government, we have no idea what this is. What they do, in order to get away with this, what they'll do is they'll change U.S. attorneys. So one U.S. attorney can say, Your Honor, I've never even heard of this, but I have a U.S. attorney from South Carolina, which is Ron Wilson's. And I say very clearly in the thing, I have an agreement with this attorney. They're going, we don't know anything about it. But either way, you don't have jurisdiction, Your Honor. You cannot force us to reduce his sentence. We'll look into it. If there's something, we'll let you know. But in the meantime, we want you to quash this motion. So we start going back and forth. But eventually the judge the judge lets them know, I'm probably going to do something for him. He actually, what he does is he says he doesn't have jurisdiction, and he fast tracks my appeal. He says, you don't have to get a certificate of eligibility. He waives that. You don't have to put down $500, because I think that the U.S. attorney, or I think that the appellate court needs to hear this, is what he's saying. And so they immediately file a 1-level reduction for me. We then stop that. We file a motion to quash that hearing so that we can present our evidence. They assign me an attorney. We end up arguing, and I get an additional 5 years off my sentence. Well, by the time I get that 5 years off my sentence, I've been doing this for a year. I'm like a year away from the door.
You ready to go home?
So that's what happens is a year has gone. So a year later, I go to a halfway house for 7 months, and I go to the halfway house. And while I'm in the halfway house, I'd been writing all these guys' stories, and I knew before I left that I wanted to start like a YouTube channel.
How long you been out now, man? When did you get out?
6 years. 2019 is when I got out.
And you started your YouTube channel when?
20. No. Yeah. Let's say 21. Yeah, I want to say I started it in mid 2020, where I was just doing like this with the thing. So I did that for 6 months, and then in January, probably in February or March, I actually started interviewing people. Where I actually got like a 3-camera setup, and I had a guy that we edited that and put up thumbnails, do the whole thing. So that's probably about 4 years. So about 4 years ago is when we really started kind of taking it, like trying to do like a serious, polished, not that it was polished, but we tried. This is when we started making more of an attempt to do more of an interview style podcast, where I interviewed other former criminals or inmates. Most of them have been caught, but some of them are guys that have committed fraud or done something that they never got caught with, but it's 20 years old, statute of limitations stuff, whatever. And then I also do former and retired law enforcement, which I guess retired stuff, former law enforcement, and they'll come on and talk about their cases or what's going on with them. Or sometimes they get jammed up and they end up going to fucking prison, and they come back and then they tell what happened in their case. So I've done, that's what we do. We do 3 a week. It's been a real.
I've been on your show
several times.
4 or 5 times,
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Matt's link underneath this video. Me and him on his channel. Y'all make sure y'all go and subscribe, and always welcome me on his platform. And I've gotten a lot of followers
You can go there and tell me what a scumbag I am. Because I'm pretty sure that your clientele, I'm pretty sure that your viewers are not going to think that this is comical at all. I can't believe you would talk to this fucking guy.
Yeah. So Matt, did you see the Puffy Netflix 50 Cent documentary?
I haven't watched the whole thing yet. Why?
You saw which?
I just checked it out where there was pictures of him where he was. They were interviewing 50 Cent, and then there was other ones where they were kind of following him around with like video. It was just video of him at a distance and stuff. Yeah. But no, I haven't watched the whole thing. Why? What's up?
No, I was just gonna ask you.
If you had told me, I would have watched it because I've been planning on watching it. But it's several hours long.
Yeah, it's 4 parts. It's about 4 hours.
Oh shit. Yeah. Well, if you had said that, I would have watched it.
You know, Puff put in for an appeal.
Okay.
And he got awarded an expedited appeal, like the
Are
one
you serious?
Yeah, they gave him the Second Circuit gave him an expedited appeal. So I think they're gonna start arguing. I think next week or the week after, the prosecution or the defense has to submit a brief, and then the other one has to. Puffy's lawyers have to submit. And then by January 2nd, the prosecution has to answer, and then by March 13th, the defense has to do their thing, and then it could go to
trial.
They
can.
Appeals go to trial.
Yeah, definitely they can grant them a new trial. But most likely, what happens is the government comes in because by this point they're so embarrassed. They'll probably come in and say, "Look, we'll reduce your sentence by 2 levels," or they'll try and give him something where it's like you only have to do a couple more months in jail or something like that, or and they'll reduce it and he'll be out, and they'll be like, "Look, he was going to do 3 years in jail and he's already done a year," and he's what I'm saying, like they'll be like, "We'll reduce it a little bit. He'll have done a significant amount of time," and because they don't want to do a whole new trial. What if they do a whole new trial based on this one thing? And lose that,
which they will.
Right, that's a problem for them. They don't want to do that. They'd rather keep the conviction and have him be released immediately or almost immediately than have to go back and get beaten. Because now, if they get beaten, it kind of opens them up to a lawsuit. Like, you sued me, and this is what happens in Polk County a lot. Well, a lot of these counties, when you get arrested by the sheriff, you'll get arrested by the sheriff's department on some kind of trumped up bullshit, and then you get bonded out, or they don't let you bond out for some reason. And what they do is they come to you once they realize, like, we don't really have a case. Well, here's what we're going to do. First, they say, we'll give you 3 years or something. And you're like, what? 3 years? I didn't do anything wrong. What are you talking about? No, I want to go to trial. And then the prosecutor they start looking at it and they're like, I don't know, it's no good, bro. It's no good. And then they come back and they go, okay, we're going to give you 1 year. And I'm not doing 1 year. And then finally they say, we'll give you time served. You just plead guilty to this felony. And the reason what they're doing is they're trying, because if they drop the whole thing,
false imprisonment, right?
I can sue you.
Yeah.
You never had a case. You never should have arrested me.
And you imprisoned me, false imprisonment.
Right. So a lot of guys will take that felony. They're already a felon. They especially do this if you're a felon, because they know that doesn't mean anything. Another felon, you got 6 felonies, you get 1 more. What do they give a shit? So they get you to say yes, but what's really happening is they really just want you. They don't care about letting you out. What they care about is that we can't just let him out, because he'll get a lawyer, he'll sue us, and we might have to pay this guy 40 grand or 30 grand or whatever. If we get him to admit to having done it, his lawyer's going to get it. Yeah, but I only signed that because they had me incarcerated because they were going to try and go to trial and give me 2 years. And what happens? The lawyer goes, "Listen, you said you did it. There's no case here." Well, that's the same thing with the government. They'd rather preserve the conviction and say, you can leave right now, sign here. Just say you are guilty. Just plead guilty, and we'll let you out right now. Because what we don't want to do is...
I don't think Puff's going to do that.
No, he's in a vastly different position.
Because he filed a Rule 29 and a Rule 33 while he was in MDC Brooklyn, which a Rule 29 was he filed for just an outright acquittal of the Mann Act. And then the Rule 33 was, I want a new trial, just trying me on the Mann Act, which was the prostitution. And because they felt like the evidence that was presented in the RICO and the SEX trafficking muddied up the jury, right? And that had he been tried alone on the Mann Act,
Right.
a lot of that evidence
Wouldn't have come
and testimony that was presented wouldn't have come in on the Mann Act joint, and he probably would have beat it. So, plus he's got money. He's gonna be able to, he's got Alexander Shapiro working on it, so he got the top of the line on there. They're trying to talk about the Tupac murder. He did the Tupac and Biggie murder and all that. They're trying to put all that's in the documentary.
I will watch it.
You gonna watch it?
Yes, I will watch it.
Right. I should have told you.
You should have told me to watch it because I've started to watch it several times, and I keep thinking.
So maybe you watch it today. Maybe we watch it today, and then we can shoot something again tomorrow. I'll come by you tomorrow, and we shoot it on my joint. But we're done, man. This is Matt Cox.
You can come by my studio. Like if I'm already going to be there tomorrow, I'm going to be there, and the next day maybe you could just come earlier or later, and we could just shoot it there.
All right,
Or I mean, we could do it here too. You could come over. We could shoot it. You could do this at my studio.
Exactly. If you watch it tonight, we'll shoot something tomorrow.
All right, I'll watch it. I put it on my schedule.
Inside True Crime, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, all of that. Facebook. Make sure you follow. I'm gonna put
at least watch Sean's episode.
Yeah, that's the link I'm gonna put.
Okay.
That's the link I'm gonna put underneath. So when you go to Matt's channel, subscribe to all of his stuff and follow him, man.
Or you can do the thing at the very end of the video where you got the boxes. They click on the box and it'll shoot them straight there. Do you ever do that? The end video?
Yeah, but I don't have a video of me and you.
What do you mean? You can do the video where I interview you on my channel, and you can put that video up.
I can't? I thought I only could be able to pull it from my library.
No, when you go up on it, on the left is
in
where
the
you
editing.
type it. Yeah, in the studio, where you can put in the upper left. If you go to just beside that, it says other videos on other channels.
Okay.
You can put your videos on my channel, so they can just click on that and shoot it right over. Because the idea that they're going to go in the description, you lose so many people trying to tell them go in the description box because it doesn't light up blue. They have to highlight it, drop it into the thing.
But I also put it in the first comment too, and I pin it.
Okay, well then that's pretty.
And I pin it in the first comment. So as soon as, because everyone's going to go in the comment section and give their 2 cents on this interview, so they're going to see that link there.
Cool.
Matt, appreciate you coming, man.
No problem.
And Sean G Podcast with Soul, Matt Cox, Inside True Crime. Peace.